President Bola Tinubu has appointed the Deputy Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, Olumode Samuel Adeyemi, as the new substantive Controller General of the service. The appointment was announced in a statement by the Secretary to the Civil Defense, Correctional, Fire and Immigration Services Board, retired Major General Abdulmalik Jibril, on behalf of President Tinubu. The appointment of the new Controller General is effective from August 14, 2025. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has called on Nigerian youth to shift from mere complaints to concrete action for national development. The Speaker made the call at the official unveiling of the Take Action campaign in Abuja, an initiative of the Youth in Parliament Forum themed Awakening a Generation. Our National Assembly correspondent, Anyetia Patrick, has more.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, who was represented by the Chairman of the House Committee on Youth in Parliament, Olami Julowo Alao Akala, stressed the need for young people to live in the present and drive Nigeria's transformation through meaningful participation in politics and policy making. He emphasized the importance of reforming outdated laws, supporting youth-inclusive policies like Not Too Young to Run, and backing the proposed bill for reserved seats for women in Parliament.
So painful. I keep telling people that Nigeria of today, if we do not take action, nothing is going to happen. Everything is going to remain the way it is. It's going to be garbage in, garbage out. And if we are here and we keep saying that we're over 60% of our population, 70% of our population, and yet there's no change, and the change we want, we cannot articulate it, we cannot put it into proper. So what are we doing? We need to come together, and that's why we need to take action.
Described the Take Action campaign as a strategic grassroots effort to combat youth underrepresentation. He said the movement aims to mentor aspiring youth candidates and mobilize voters ahead of the 2027 general elections.
The statistics before us are alarming. Despite comprising over 60% of Nigeria's population, young people remain grossly underrepresented in legislative and governance spaces. Take Action campaign is our answer to that imbalance. It is our organized, strategic, and grassroots-powered response.
Other stakeholders at the events pledged to support the campaign and assured continued collaboration with the Youth in Parliament Forum to enhance grassroots engagement and amplify the voices of young Nigerians nationwide. Anyetia Patrick, Global Television News.
And still talking legislative matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is strengthening ties with state electoral commissions to improve the credibility of local government elections. The Commission's chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, made this known while receiving the leadership of the Forum State Independent Electoral Commissions of Nigeria in Abuja. Again, Anyetia Patrick brings us details.
The newly inaugurated leadership of the Forum of State Independent Electoral Commissions of Nigeria, led by Chairman Mamman Eri, was at the INEC headquarters in Abuja to seek collaboration. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu emphasized the joint responsibility of both bodies in safeguarding electoral integrity at the grassroots. He expressed concern over the poor credibility of local government elections in many states, warning that failing to issue timely election notices violates the Electoral Act.
Some responsibilities for electoral activities are actually exclusively those of INEC. For example, voter registration is exclusive responsibility of INEC, but we are under obligation to make the register of voters available, the current register of voters available to the state electoral commissions. Secondly, we also create and allot voters to polling units, and we make these polling units available to the state electoral commissions.
On his part, the Forum of State Independent Electoral Commission of Nigeria Chairman Mamman Eri sought INEC's support in areas such as technical assistance, capacity building, and knowledge sharing.
the recent Supreme Court judgment that annulled Rivers State elections, local government elections. It is so clear that most of the states have their own laws that have been enacted and passed by the House of Assemblies. And the fact remains that most of us have this issue of 90 days notice of elections. And from all indications, one of the Supreme Court judgment hammered on the issue of 360 days. How do we marry these two?
Both parties reaffirmed their commitment to delivering more transparent and credible local elections across the country. Anieti Patrick, Global Television News.
Thank you so very much, Anieti Patrick, for your report. And let's turn to other stories for you. The Independent Corrupt and Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has raised the alarm over the poor implementation of anti-corruption and transparency units in government institutions. At an oversight session with the House Committee on Anti-Corruption, the Commission Chairman, Aliyu Musa, represented by Director of System and Study and Review, Olusegun Adigun, made the call for urgent reforms and funding. National Assembly correspondent Anieti Patrick now again brings us details.
According to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission Chairman, out of over 400 ministries, departments and agencies, only 26 anti-corruption and transparency units are considered very effective. 58 are rated effective, while 127 are labeled ineffective and 5 are dormant. Most worrying, 92 MDAs are yet to establish the units at all.
We realize that in the compliance rating, we have 6 categories. We have the full compliance, that is MDAs that score 95% and above, and then we have substantial compliance, partial compliance, poor compliance, non-compliance, and non-responsive. But over time, we realize that some MDAs will fall into substantial compliance, while the NDA is not effective. So this year going forward, ATU is now a standalone key performance indicator.
House Speaker Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, represented by Honorable Umar Ajilo, stressed that corruption weakens institutions and hinders national growth.
This public hearing aims to assist the functionalities and effectiveness of the anti-corruption and transparency unit across all areas to identify their challenges and explore viable strategies for addressing the challenge.
Chairman of the committee, Honorable Kayode Akilo, acknowledged the anti-corruption and transparency units framework is cost-effective, but warned that some units have underperformed or become compromised.
While we recognize the challenges posed by the nature of corruption, we must also confront the reality that not all actions taken in the name of anti-corruption have been entirely above board. It is paramount that we investigate and assess whether these units are truly fulfilling their mandate or if they have reverted to the goal achieved in very practices that they were created to eradicate.
The committee says it will intensify efforts to ensure anti-corruption and transparency units are functional across all MDAs as part of broader war against corruption in public service. Anieti Patrick, Global Television News.
This is Global Television, and you're watching the live broadcast of the AM News. When the rest of the news returns shortly, Nigeria seals International Table Tennis Federation World Youth Championships part. Details coming, plus business and foreign stories on the other side of this break. Please do stay with us. And the rest of this news broadcast now returns with business. The House of Representatives SEDO Committee on Rehabilitation and Operationalization of Barrow Inland Port has raised serious concerns over the non-function of the multi-billion naira Barrow Inland Port in Niger State years after it was commissioned. Chairman of the committee, Saidu Abdullahi, who expressed the concern on behalf of the House, said the committee has summoned Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, and Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority, Bola Oyebamiji, over the issue. Anita Patrick was there for Global Television.
Commissioned with much fanfare, the Barrow Inland Port was expected to boost trade, decongest road transport, and improve connectivity across the country. Ad hoc Committee on Rehabilitation and Operationalization of Barrow Inland Port, chaired by Honorable Saidu Abdullahi, demand answers about the Barrow Inland Port in Niger State, a project initially celebrated as a game changer for Nigeria's inland waterway transportation system.
We're directing all the MDs that will be invited to cause appearance once they receive our date, which will explicitly state the date and time of the engagement. Yes, it's actually mandatory because we're taking this assignment very seriously. We'll make ourselves readily available to.
Lawmakers described the situation as unacceptable. They queried that despite the completion of physical infrastructure, the port has not been put to use, citing poor access roads and vandalism as major setbacks.
So my submission, Mr. Chairman and respected colleagues, that the agency have to appear and the accounting officers have to appear. That shows they respect Parliament. And also, the Minister of Transport is our brother, colleague, who was in the Senate. So we expect better collaboration and understanding.
Representing the National Inland Waterways Authority boss, Abahe Fidelis blames the delay on infrastructural gaps and security challenges.
So unlocking Barrow Port will demand a federal approach. It will demand ensuring streamlined implementation and efficient operationalization. NIWA as an agency is prepared to guide all of us in this phase, ensuring that the post will boost economic growth and national prosperity.
The committee has given both the ministry and NIWA a 7-day ultimatum to submit documents on the port's construction, funding, and operational status. The lawmakers say they will conduct a follow-up inspection at Barrow Port to verify the claims and ensure accountability. Anita Patrick, Global Television News.
Still talking business, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited has officially ruled out the sale of the Port Harcourt refining company, reaffirming its commitment to completing high-grade rehabilitation and retention of the plant. Group Chief Executive Officer of the company, Bayo Ojulari, made the announcement during a company-wide town hall meeting at the company's towers in Abuja, ending weeks of speculation over the future of the country's most prominent state-owned refining asset. A statement by the company's management says the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has officially ruled out the possibility of that sale. Let's now take you to the foreign scene, where British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced that the United Kingdom will formally recognize the state of Palestine in September unless Israel takes various substantive steps, including agreeing to a ceasefire in Gaza. In a televised Downing Street address, Starmer said the United Kingdom will recognize a Palestinian state if Israel has not taken the steps demanded by the time the United Nations General Assembly is held in September.
So if the international community can get together and say you need a two-state solution, which I've been fighting for, demonstrating for 30 years now, I believe this is the right answer. I don't know how much it will affect this government, but once it happens and there's enough pressure internationally, I hope it does affect this government or the next.
I think it's very sad because they don't understand the situation. We're surviving. We didn't want this war, and the Palestine doesn't want peace. That's the problem.
Those were some Israelis there sharing their views on this new radical announcement by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Russia says it will expand the reach of its electronic visa program beginning August 23, doubling the validity period from 60 to 120 days, as well as extending the maximum stay from 16 to 30 consecutive days. The move announced this week is expected to make the country more accessible to travelers from 64 eligible nations, while preserving the program's single entry restriction. The e-visa, introduced nationwide in August of 2023, has quickly become a popular means of entry. And now time to talk some sports. Nigeria have earned qualification for the 2025 International Table Tennis Federation World Youth Championships in Romania after winning the Boys Under-19 team event at the ongoing African Youth Championships in Lagos State. Competing at the Molade Okoya Thomas Hall, Teslim Balogun Stadium, the Nigerian team recovered from a 0-2 deficit in the semi-finals to edge Egypt 3-2 before defeating Tunisia by the same scoreline in the final. Despite Tunisia's Wassim Essid defeating both Matthew Kuti and Abdul Basit Abdul Fattah, Nigeria won the title after Abdul Fattah had beaten Mohamed Kaloufi 3-0 in the decider. The win confirmed Nigeria's return to the Continental Summit after missing out in 2024. Egypt and Algeria settled for bronze. And now let's talk football. All is now set for Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen to travel to Istanbul, Turkey. Osimhen is scheduled to undergo medical tests with Galatasaray as his transfer enters the final stages. The Turkish champions have already agreed a deal with Napoli for the 26-year-old. After Osimhen has scored 37 goals in 41 appearances during his one-year loan, Galatasaray were eager to sign him on a permanent basis. They are now on the verge of wrapping up the transfer for the former CAF Player of the Year. And that's your AM News here on Global Television. Thank you so very much for watching. We would love to, as always, remind you that you can find us on DSTV channels 365 and Star Times 276. Kindly follow us across all of our social media platforms using the handle at Global TV NG, as well as others, as you now find on your screen. I'm Uyag Mofwegbe, and Global Morning begins shortly. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
As always, thank you everyone for joining us here on Global Morning. We're delighted to know that you're spending the next 3 hours with us. On the program, promises to be very engaging and of course topical conversations here to keep you glued, plus to help reflect on how we're faring as a nation, as a government, and of course as a people. I am Uyi Agmofwegbe. My colleague is also on the program this morning.
Good morning, Uyi. It's good to have you.
Good morning. It's good to have you as well.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, viewers. Many thanks for joining us on Global Morning today. We are set to hit the road running, and of course, we have so much loaded for you on Global Morning today. Stay with us as we journey together.
Quite a journey is going to be, no doubt about that, because as it stands now, Nigeria continues to be an evolving project. I mean, especially when you look at how far we've come or how well, maybe otherwise, we're doing in terms of critical indices. Maybe we'll start with power, for example. What is happening with power? Yesterday, of course, we spent a sizable amount of time here discussing developments in the power sector, particularly as these issues have to do with the efficiency or otherwise of the distribution companies, all 11 of them. Of course, one of the very salient, if you like, strands in that conversation yesterday was the element of billing. All right, now we are told that at least 2 million consumers of power in this country have been overbilled over a 1-year period, thereabouts, and then a couple of distribution companies are now being compelled, who knows, maybe by the regulator, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, to make them refund 105 billion naira. That's an ongoing conversation on the one hand. On the other hand, there's the concern around metering. For more than a decade, or for a decade at least, and counting, we've been talking about metering gap in this country. We've seen many ideas being proposed, many interventions being rolled out. But then that gap appears to have moved from being just a gap to becoming a gulf. What that means in perspective is to say that it's becoming more of a problem than it was 5 or even 10 years ago. But then we understand that one way to bring justice to energy consumption is to do proper metering, to do proper billing. But then the interesting thing is you can't bill Ramsey or Uyi properly if you do not provide them with a meter. And the challenge, or one of the many challenges with that, is realizing that it is established. A meter is not something you can go to the shop next to your house to purchase. There's a procedure, there's a protocol for acquiring a meter, and that in itself has become more like a process we probably should be comparing to the proverbial camel passing through the eye of a needle.
Well, I think that one hits me hard. Well, I don't know, but then these things, sometimes you will be forced to think the stakeholders are trying to play some games.
Right.
Because this is something. This problem never started today.
Right.
This is something that has been there. Then you keep hearing this in different chapters of this story.
Different chapters.
Different chapters of a truth.
And versions.
Versions of this story. I don't know when this will come to an end. I'm even pushing for solar.
Right.
I think it's high time we'll make do with solar energy. If electricity cannot serve us anymore, if there is problem, okay, look at the push. Look at the trouble now. Discourse, NEC, TCN, this, you know, everybody is just trying to save their head.
Right.
That's what everybody is doing. But then, who suffers in all of this? The average Nigerians.
That's right.
The average Nigerians. Look at how businesses are crumbling. People can't do business anymore because the power is not there. And you know the role power plays when it comes to business.
That's right.
You know, so we can't keep talking about this thing every day. The reason why I said is different chapters. You can see where we are now. This is not grid collapse.
That's right.
All right. This is another chapter. Okay. And then maybe later on you may hear something else. So we keep hearing these things. We keep hearing these things. And there are people into whose hands this thing is being committed. So who is holding who accountable? When everyone is complaining.
Accountability.
You know, accountability. Everyone is trying to shift blames. But then, I think by now, the level we are, and looking at the extent, okay, that we've gone so fast, it has to do with power in Nigeria, power supply in Nigeria. By now, we shouldn't be talking about metering, estimated bills, and all of that. We should have grown past all of that because we've come a long way. This is Nigeria we're talking about here. You know, now it will amaze you that you go to some houses, you still see that old meter that used to do like this,
right.
Bim, you know.
Almost like a one direction pendulum.
Pendulum. You know, don't be surprised that you still see that meter in some houses until today. They may not be working, but you still see them. But then there was this time the federal government promised that they were going to supply prepaid meters. Let this power supply be metered. Right. Nigerians are ready to pay, but are they going to get adequate services for this payment? Look at what telcos are doing to Nigerians. You know, you make payment, you're being charged. You make payment for these things and you don't get a commensurate service.
That's right.
Look at power, for instance. These people will come and they will bill you. They'll look at your house, look at the size of your house. How many cars do they have in this compound? How is the building looking like? They bill you based on that.
So they say it is estimated.
Estimated. So I'm just looking forward to when we'll get over all of this because it's long overdue.
Well, I think I pitch my tent with you on that part that says it's long overdue, because I remember quite frankly in 2020, this was on a radio program, well, not Global Television, 5 years ago, before the NSAS protests of 2020, when I would host a program on a Wednesday and then get to discuss issues around power. And then there was this former public relations officer of one of the distribution companies that was somewhere down south, who would always call into the program, or sometimes he would be practically available in the studio to discuss issues around power distribution, the end of it in particular. So on this particular day, I'm hosting this civil society individual who is talking about all of the challenges regarding metering, and then he made a very hefty allegation that this particular DISCO, distribution company, that is, had at least 60,000 units of meters stock somewhere, right? And then he was wondering, he said on the show, live on radio, the reason this particular distribution company was not dispersing those meters or distributing those meters. Now, incidentally, the former PRO, who by the way is deceased now, blessed memory, called into the show and tried to put up a defense, but he couldn't definitively answer the question of whether or not the disco he represented has 60,000, at least. That's what the man said. It says at least 60,000. He said if the former PRO doubted him as to his allegation or claim on that show, he would come to show him in their office or their warehouse where those meters were powered up. This was in 2020. I was hosting that program. So what that shows to you is, like you mentioned, accountability and transparency. We understand that, yes, you're always going to have issues around bureaucracy, red tapeism, standard operating procedure, and all of the jargons around these issues like this. But you see, human beings are not made for systems. Systems are made to serve human beings. Until we understand that, it's almost going to be near impossible for us to address some of these anomalies that we see associated with things like power and all of that. Like Ramsey mentioned, it's a shame that in 2025 we're still discussing estimated billing when we are not talking estimated billing with telecoms, for example. I remember back in the day, I'm old enough to know that we had NITEL in this country, where your father, for example, would need to pay, telephone bill. Sometimes neighbors want to pay telephone bill. And then you see there's a bill. There was nothing like estimation. This was even days long before internet was a thing in Africa, let alone in Nigeria as a country. So how did they pull it off? What kind of systems did they have in those days, 70s, 80s, into the 90s? Because even into the early 90s, at least 2001, 2002, we still had NITEL until it became MTEL, and the rest is history, as they say. The point is that we can't forget where we come from. What it also means on the final note is that we must continue to build on those successes that we recorded from some decades ago and see how we move on with the reality of the times. It is 2025 again, just for the purpose of those who don't realize.
It's 2025.
Right.
So we can't be discussing issues that are supposed to have been infected since maybe 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
Like we're talking about NITEL. I could still remember. See, I don't know, things can work. It's like there are some persons that actually don't want things to work. Take us, let's just walk back memory lane a little bit. You remember those days, you have your card. You can just be walking and you want to make a call. You insert your card, you have, your card is loaded.
You have public paying booths.
Public booths where you just make your call, do whatever you want to do, and you go your way. These things were seamless. Seamless. And the service was smooth.
Right.
So sometimes I sit down and I start thinking, how did we get here? Where do these people inherit this attitude from? I call it an attitude. Because it's like someone is not even caring about how the other person is feeling because they are comfortable, in quotes. That's what it is. Because if you look at it critically, someone said something sometimes back and I laughed. He said, Nigerians are crying that fuel price is skyrocketing, that there is no food. That these people don't even go to markets to buy food. They have the supply from anywhere in their house 24/7. They don't even know how their cars are being fueled. So people like this don't really know what is happening. Was it not just yesterday someone made a statement about a past administration when the person was saying it's like there is somebody who is very close to the man in power, all right, that put things in bullet points, and take it across, then it is what that man sees that he works with.
Right.
These are impediments. I think there is need for an overhauling of the system.
Right.
I think the majority of the problem is coming from the system, because you may want to do the right thing, but what about the other person by your side? And you know how some persons are expert in fighting what is good because they don't want it to come to stay. Why? Because it's going to take 1 naira out of their pocket.
So,
or maybe out of their way.
To that extent, we put personal interest ahead of national interest.
National interest. That's majority of what we have in Nigeria. If not, how on earth would we be sitting to talk about per estimated metering, estimated billing, you know, not having prepaid meter. What is prepaid meter? In advanced countries, they even have something better. But the problem is, would it really work? Because my mind just, when I said in advanced country it works, my mind just flashed to beavers.
How well are we doing with that?
How well are we doing with that? This is something that they saw working somewhere and they brought it in, but we still had glitches. So this thing is not just in one area, just different sectors with different sector of problem.
Right.
You know, so I think it's high time we begin to call spade a spade. If we want to do it, let's just sit down and do it and put the interests of Nigerians first above our own personal interests as leaders at every level. When I talk about leadership, it's at every level. You mustn't be a political leader before you do the right thing. If we must have a sanitized society, that's what I feel.
Right. We're going to take papers very soon, but just to add to this quickly, I mean, these are power-related issues we're talking about, and like somebody once said, any country that wants to build infrastructure, invest in education and health, without first of all addressing very squarely the problems associated with the power sector, they are placing the cart before the horse, and there's no worse way to misplace priorities than to adopt that sort of approach. Because, I mean, down memory lane a little, in 1999, former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo campaigned with power as one of his agendas. If you know, I mean, if you followed, there's always an agenda for every incoming government. By 2003, running for a second term, there was also power in that, well, as part of the agenda. However, having done 8 years, one of the things that people still talk about tomorrow is the $16 billion that were said to have been spent on some independent power projects in this country, and nobody is providing definitive answers to those questions. And then fast forward to 2007, when there was election again. This time it was late former President Musa Yar'Adua, blessed memory, running alongside Goodluck Jonathan at the time, and power was also part of that campaign. Of course, well, death didn't allow the former president to see that administration, that's a term, through. It had to be former former President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan who had to complete that term. By 2011, when he was now running as a candidate, again, power was part of the campaign strategies. Power, education, health, roads, and what have you. The regular, I mean, all the gamut of issues that made the front burner concerns during campaign. That was in 2011. Of course, he did win that election. 2015, again, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan versus late former President Muhammadu Buhari. Both of them hammered on power. Of course, we know how that election ended. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan lost that election to former late President Muhammadu Buhari. By 2019, again, the former now late president came up for a second term run, and again, it was power. Am I going to sit here and remind you of 2023, when the then candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu was running for office, and power was front and center of the campaign promises that were made at that time. Now, 2 years down the line, there are those in the APC in particular who will tell you, well, look, let's not be in a rush. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The man has only been in office for 2 years. Come on. The issue is so deep-rooted that he will need at least 4 or 5 years to fix those issues. But so our Nigerians who are saying that if, I mean, with a big if, President Bola Tinubu were to return for a second term, for example, is there a guarantee that this issue of power would have been fixed? Because as of today, it is already 26 years of uninterrupted democracy, and we've not been able to fix power. The question, the final note again is, how many persons within the corridors of power are seated this morning or spent at least 30 minutes of the last 12 hours asking themselves in the little corner of their rooms, what exactly is wrong with our power sector, starting with the president himself? And then you narrow it down to the Minister of Power, Chief Adelabu. Of course, that ministry, we understand, also has a Minister of State. And you have several agencies under that ministry focused on different aspects of power. You have those who are manning generation, transmission, and of course the distribution ends. What exactly are they doing? Now we're hearing that the DISCOs may have their licenses revoked by the authorities, which of course is the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, because they say the idea is to hopefully sell those licenses or reissue those licenses to new investors so that fresh investments can be pumped or injected into the distribution end of the sector. I'm almost losing my breath, but we're going to take it.
What it means, what it means is that they know the problem. If you get what I deduce from what you just said is that these people know the problem.
So who is going to build the cart?
That's where the problem is right now. I don't know. Look at the history you gave from way back 2007. Now we are in 2025. And the same thing being part of every president's agenda. It means they know the problem. But I'm thinking it's like the existence of this problem is to the advantage of some individuals. Probably. Or else, power is not too much to be handled. But then, if we say, okay, out of the whole issues that we have, which one can we point to and say has been dealt with by any of these administrations? Let's take, for instance, maybe the issue of power is being striked out, you know, it's been trashed, it's been settled, the solution is there. It will remain for eternity. People remember that administration for eternity. See, they said if you want to remain in power, there are things you do that the people will even clamor for you remaining in power. So these are problems. It means our problems are known. They say problem known is half solved, but I don't know why our own problem known is zero solved.
Maybe it is 25% solved, who knows? All right, we're going to take a quick break, everyone, at this point, because up next is a newspaper review where we'll bring you the big headlines from across our national dailies. Do stay with us.
Welcome back from that break. So good to know that you are still there on Global Television. And of course, this is the newspaper headlines. Let's begin from the Daily Times newspaper this morning. On the Daily Times newspaper, the big, I just call it big story because it's a striking one. Nurses begin 7-day warning strike. We talked about this yesterday. And like a joke, it has started. Maybe probably we'll follow the developments and keep you abreast of the happenings. And now to the big story on the Daily Times newspaper. Port Harcourt Refinery not for sale. NNPCL is the one saying that. Details read on page 2. We just talked about electricity distribution company right now and discuss maybe reissuing or resales or whatever. Now it is refineries in Nigeria. I don't know if this is going to be the solution. Selling it, is that the solution? Do we need to sell it, or we have what it takes to fix it? Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Warri refineries. I don't know. But one of the first promises that we got from this administration is that, in fact, they gave us a timeline. That the Port Harcourt refinery was going to be fixed in January. I could remember that because I was running a political program that period in one of the media houses, and we talked about. In fact, we're following it. We're following it, and something happened. I don't know what happened. They said, okay, couldn't come up in January. Now let's move it to December. December came and passed up to today. We're still having ups and downs, you know, and people are there taking salaries, staff, and all of that.
Right.
I don't know.
Running into billions.
Running into billions. You know, as people being appointed to man these places and nothing is coming out of it. I don't know what it means. But then I think this morning it's been cleared by NNPCL that Port Harcourt refinery is not for sale. I don't know of the other refineries, Warri and Kaduna, if they are for sale. I don't know. Maybe you can find out yourself. Now, more headlines. Minister Bianca Ojukwu holds talks in Ghana over bilateral tension. Federal government mulls cattle breeding centers in 6 geopolitical zones. Agric Minister is the one saying that, and details read on page 2. Adaliko rallies support for Nigeria's bid for Imo Council seat. Aviation Ministry, Murphy to collaborate on sector's development. All right, details of that you can find on page 12. Then this one says NAFDAC and 2.5 billion naira from Lagos, Onitsha, about drug market raid. All right, that's the size of the headlines from the Daily Times newspaper. Over to you for the next.
All right, let's see the Nigerian Tribune. We'll begin with the headlines above the nameplate. But first off, the one at the top right corner with a picture of the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Bagudu, says Tinubu has been faithful to the North, says President's fair to all. Okay, and then still above the nameplate, North calls for equitable distribution of resources to address regional imbalance. And that brings us to the star headline this morning. NNPC rules out sale of Port Harcourt refinery, just like Ramsey also brought to us from the Daily Times a while ago. 2 riders with that headline. Petron rejects plans not to privatize refinery. 6 arrested over vandalization of Warri Kaduna crude oil pipeline in Edo. As we take you to the headlines by the left-hand corner now of the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Benue IDPs protest over 1 billion naira donation by Tinubu's wife. What exactly is the thrust of the protests? What's the basis for it? You can find details on page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune today. A $245 billion human trafficking scourge threatens Nigeria's security. That's Attorney General of the Federation. Adeleke deploys 1,750 Imole teachers corps to Osun schools. Health lead in gasoline. Lead in gasoline linked to cognitive impairment in Gen X. Those technical details, as I'd like to call them, you would find on page 3. Nurses strike grounds hospitals. Hospitals reject patients for admission. Federal government appeals to nurses, midwives. At what point did that appeal come? Because we're hearing that there had been a window for negotiation of about 2 weeks, particularly 15 days. But did we take advantage of it? How come now we're hearing that the federal government is appealing to nurses and midwives? Incidentally, the strike enters the 2nd day today. We'll continue to monitor that for you. Hopefully we get one of the leaders of this union or association to come have this conversation with us on the program on Friday's edition of Global Morning. Well, those are the headlines from the Nigerian Tribune. Do well to grab a copy so you can read all those details as well. Let's flip things over now to the Guardian newspaper, and Ramsey has those headlines for us.
All right, let's quickly look at the Guardian newspaper and see the headlines that we have there. Quite a number of headlines here. Alia dissolves cabinet, appoints Ataga as new chief of staff. Details read on page 2. Marginalization is the kicker right here. Not physical position stronger under Tinubu, says Bagudu. Details read on page 3. NNPCL suspends sale of refinery, exports 400,000 metric tons of refined products. Details read on page 7. Then the big story now, suspended school feeding initiative leaves 9 million pupils, 250,000 jobs stranded. Details read on page 7. That's one of the initiatives that never saw the light of day. A lot went down with that initiative. Probably, I think we have a lot of issues when it comes to supervision and accountability.
Right.
The problem we have, that's I think this was under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. You know, a lot of people were complaining. Some will tell you, well, the kind of food that some of these pupils are being served, it's not it at all. Some will tell you the money is being carted away by a few persons into their pocket. Some persons will tell you the numbers that is being given is not the number that is there in the real sense of it. And 9 million pupils. From some part of the north, there was a research that was carried out, and it was meant to say that some of these pupils even come to school because of the food. And you know, with that reduces the number of out-of-school children.
Right.
You need to go. You come to school because of food, then you'll be taught. They take, they teach them and all of that. Now, as it is, the headline here says 9 million pupils already are left stranded, and 250,000 people stranded of their job. They don't have their job anymore, relieved of their job because the program is not there anymore. More headlines from the Guardian newspaper this morning. 2027, that's the kicker. Rufai reveals PDP in talks with Obi for major return. Well, there was a disclaimer to this effect. And as a matter of fact, if you want to get details, go to page 3. Ministry, NDLEA, OK's compulsory drug test for undergraduates. All right. You can pick a copy of that. Okay. Then this one says the nurses begin warning strike over poor conditions, leave patients stranded. Details on page 6. TCN board reaffirms corporate governance. Standouts falls prolonged tenure of interim directors. Details on page 18. So many things going on in our ministries. Saudi to expand operations in Nigeria with Trans-Blue partnership. Details on page 5. And that's the size of the headlines from the Guardian newspaper as we move to the next point of call.
All right, the Daily Trust is where we turn to next. We begin with the Star headline for you, which has just one rider. Tells us bandits on renewed rampage in Katsina. Villages evicted, forced into peace deals. Above the Star headline, top right left corner, NNPCL says refineries not for sale. Troops killed 9 Boko Haram terrorists in Borno. 2027, that's a kicker. North has no reason not to support Tinubu's re-election. Arewa think tank. Benue governor sacks chief of staff, commissioners, while indigenship bill was withdrawn. Those details are on page 12 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Money given to Super Falcons can pay 16,000 doctors, 66,000 teachers, others. Well, I think everybody's grabbing their calculator now, doing the math, since that announcement was made by President Bola Tinubu himself. And lastly, nurses strike, patients stranded at hospitals nationwide. Okay, so much for the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Read up details when you pick up a copy, but then we turn it over now to the Punch newspaper.
All right, let's quickly see how punchy the Punch newspaper is this morning. Beginning from the top of the nameplate, patients groan as nurses strike grounds hospital nationwide. We said this yesterday. I wonder where these patients will run to. I wonder where they will run to. That's one of the things we keep talking about. Sometimes this strike action go to affect Nigerians, the average Nigerians. They feel the heat. We're talking about health here. Health is something that is essential.
Right.
You need to be alive to even do anything, to cast your vote and practice or maybe follow up with your civic responsibility. But then this is where we are. Patients are groaning as nurses strike grand hospitals nationwide. All right, this is a nationwide strike, in case you don't know. A federal government, one of the riders says to hold a high-level meeting with nurses on Friday, that's tomorrow. Then the strike may have gone down for like 3 days. A second rider says health workers insist on improved pay of theirs. Reps probe Nigerian miners abuse claim in car. Reps probe Nigerian miners abuse claim in Central African Republic. I know a lot of us have been following that development. That's coming from Abbas. Details you can find on page 7. UTME fraud, that's the kicker. JAMB prosecuted 110 in 5 years. Details read on page 7. Federal government, now the big story, hides 796 billion naira annually from 5% petrol surcharge. Then the writer to the story says the consumers decry new fuel tax after subsidy removal as law commences January 2026. All right, let's keep our fingers crossed and see how that is going to go. Port Harcourt refinery not for sale. NNPC is the one saying that. Details read on page 31. Varsity students to face drug test, says Education Minister. I think the issue of drug is becoming something else in Nigeria. So I think this is a right move and the right direction. But then I could remember back in the days when we're getting admission into school, during the screening, they'll have to check all your body to see if you have a cut, you know, something or a scar to be sure this person is not a cuties. I can still remember that. Maybe this might be one of those things. Varsity students to face drug test, says Education Minister. Abiodun welcomes ex-PDP chair, others to Ogun APC. All right, the faction still going on. Gunmen stab Ogun businessman to death. Details read on page 5. If you want to know why and who the businessman is, you can pick a copy of The Punch. Finally, from The Punch, King must respect ancestral burial rights or quit throne. One day, Abimbola is the one saying that. Details read on page 3 of the Punch newspaper. You can make a copy of the Punch if any of these stories interest you, so that you can go through it for yourself. Now to the next paper.
But there's this story that's has been of public interest for a while. The one here that has details on page 7 says varsity students to face drug test, says Education Minister. There are those who are saying that the NDLEA, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, before now ought to have already extended this kind of quote-unquote initiative, all right, to politically expose people, especially at the point where they are seeking entry into public office, whether they are going to be appointed or elected. Because if you think it's important to check those who are getting into university, which is good because they say catch them young. So at that point, it still makes sense, even though you could have started doing that at the point they are getting into maybe high school or something, but that university level is fine. At least people are already between ages 16 and on the average 19 at that point in time. But can we not broaden the net a little further? That's what many Nigerians are saying. And this conversation is not new. It's been here for a while, been here for several years, about how that those who seek political office, whether they are ambitious about being appointed or being elected, should be tested for drugs as well. Because, I mean, with all of the information we see, we are both in the media, by the way, with regards to what the news is saying, especially the one that comes out from the NDLEA every other Sunday, it already shows you that this is a big fight. So it's not just about some young boys, some fellas on the streets or corner of the street using illicit drugs. It's also about people who are high up in high places, who are using every means imaginable to, if you like, deal in drugs and use these same substances as well. So they say source for the goose is source for the gander. Let me not allow you dissipate energy in this regard. So we're just going to jump to the next paper. This time is the Punch Sports Extra. Incidentally, this is Ramsey's strong point, but let me follow him behind now. All right,
let's go.
It's basically about sports. It says Falcons hold WAFCON Trophy parade in Lagos. Yes, it's worth holding, even though there is now controversy over the reward announcement by the president. Atalanta confirmed Lookman transfer requests. Eagles B face Zanzibar in final tests ahead 2024 CHAN. But the big one here with a picture of Victor Osimhen, who happens to be arguably the hottest commodity, for want of better words, on the market now as far as soccer is concerned. It says, "Here I come." The writer tells us Osimhen lands in Istanbul as striker set to undergo gala medical today. So I'm going to leave it here and talk to Ramsey a little about this. I mean, it's been a long time coming. Today it's Liverpool making a bid. Tomorrow it is Manchester presenting a bid. The day after that, Arsenal is interested. And then the next thing we hear is, no, Napoli have said that, look, this man has got to come back. And then Osimhen is not happy with them. He's not going back to Napoli. He's tired of Italy. He has found love in Istanbul. Where are we?
When you're big, you're big. Well, you see, this is it. When you want to catch a big fish,
right?
One, you need to look at the size of your nets. You need to look at the size of your hook. You need to do an assessment of your strength, whether you'll be able to pull out this fish
or not,
if it's been caught. So these are parameters. Now, I think Napoli, they tried. But if you say your house is far, right, somebody's house is still
further than that.
Further than, yes. And sometimes, this is one of the mistakes a lot of people make. I'm trying to narrow it down. Valuing what you have at every particular point in time. Valuing what you have. Because there is this adage that that little knife that you're always using, you won't know the value until the day it gets missing. And that pot of soup could not be cooked because you cannot slice so many things.
Including vegetables.
Including vegetables. The onions, the pepper, and name them.
You didn't add carrots.
And carrots.
Right.
That is if you want to prepare rice, not for soup. You know, so the truth is, I think Osimhen's move will gladden a lot of people. The joy is that Galatasaray actually tested. They know what, imagine, look at the records. Look at the records. This is somebody that a president of a country will stand still for. I'm talking about Osimhen
right
now. You know, somebody that is being celebrated. So I'm excited that finally, but then it's good to be where you are celebrated than where you are tolerated.
That's right.
So I think Galatasaray, as it is right now, landing in Istanbul, set to undergo gala medical today is a good one. I know after the medical is going to settle down and know that, yes, I am here now. And I think Nigerians will be excited for him. One of the things that, I did say it out, but one of the things that I felt bad about when everybody were saying things about today Liverpool, tomorrow Man U, today this, Napoli is saying this, Napoli is saying this, will he wait? I'll wait. The clause. I don't want him to go to Saudi. I don't want him to go. He's going to make a lot of money, yeah, but I don't want him to go to Saudi. He will go there, but it's too early. This guy.
Why won't you want him? Because you have a trajectory of people who have been there and their football career died a natural death afterwards.
That's the major thing. Osimhen have so much to still offer.
So it's too early to turn to...
It's too early to just turn to... Because a lot of people look at Saudi as a retirement ground. A lot of people... Look at Messi and the rest of them.
Sounds like being a governor for 8 years and then you retire at the Senate.
Retire.
At the Senate.
As a Senate. You see what that means. But this guy has so much to offer. until tomorrow, Saudi will still look for him. So it's too early to go and stay in, because what it means is the Saudi league is not a competitive league.
At this point.
Yes, at this point. And that's what they are trying to build.
Right, investing massively.
Yes, investing massively into their league to make it competitive, to make it known. And how can you be known? It's when you have big names. Big names. Their fan base will be shifted to Saudi if they go to Saudi.
That's right.
But then some persons don't even like watching Saudi league because it's not competitive. So going there, you will make a lot of money, and they are ready to dish out the money because they have it, and they have a target. They know what they are looking for. But for me, Osimhen in Galatasaray is a good one for me. That's what I feel. Everyone have their opinion.
Right.
It's a good one for me. But then, it's earning so much. It's earning so much. So
we're saying
later I can go to.
We're saying figures around 75 million euros. People say, well, we don't know exactly what the sharing formula is, but the man is still going to end up a billionaire in Naira, regardless of what his court will be ultimately.
That's what it is.
All right, so let's say hello to the billionaire, everyone.
All right,
let's turn to our next paper this morning, and that will be the Nigeria News Direct. I'm sure Ramsey will bring us those headlines real quick.
All right, let's quickly get to the Nigeria News Direct. Both the nameplates past NNPC Limited Management revival of Port Harcourt refinery ill-informed. This is coming from Ojulari. One rider to that story, and the rider says NNPC Limited rule out sale of refinery. Now to the big story. Kaduna-Kano standard gauge rail line ready for commissioning next year. That's coming from the federal government, trying to let us know that the Kaduna-Kano standard gauge rail line is going to be ready for commissioning next year. And just one rider to that story. Cites major road health infrastructure gains across northern Nigeria, even though some persons are saying, well, the north has been left out as it has to do with road infrastructure with this administration. Now we're hearing that major road health infrastructure gains across northern Nigeria. Now, Sanwo-Olu unveils puzzle book on history of Lagos. If you want to know the history of Lagos, I don't know. You can just pick a copy of that and know what it is. Osun 2026, that's the kicker. Over 360,000 PVCs uncollected. INEC crying again. So the last time I remember was during the Obseco election. Was it in one of these states? Was it in Anambra also?
We had the same issue in Bayelsa, Imoroko. You know, those elections were on same day. By, of course, off-grid gubernatorial elections. We had that same issue just November last year. I mean, going into November election, Edo State governorship election. Again, an electoral exercise that is off the 4-year cycle. This is going to continue for a while. You see, that's why civic education must become the norm. People must understand that voting is not just about whether you like politicians or not. It's not just about which party you prefer or your partisan leaning or political ideological base. It's basically about your nationhood, is basically about your patriotism. So that we begin to understand that there's no price too much to pay for things like this. You'll be shocked, Ramsey, that some persons do not go to pick up their PVCs across the country. Just because they are not happy with the state of the nation. That's just their reason, nothing else. It's not because they can't find their way to the local government headquarters or whatever the the pick-up point is. They just don't feel impressed with how things are going in the country. But what they also don't realize, ironically, is that for us to move this country from point A to point B, regardless of where, that your little corner where you're playing from, we must put in the work. We may not put in the same amount of work. We may not have the same intensity in terms of the commitment, but everybody must do their bit. We have seen people who travel, shut down their business for days just to go pick up PVCs and come back. Then when it's time for election proper, they also shut down those activities, go back to cast their votes and come back. It's what it is. I remember back in the day, professor teaching a class in the university, and he said there was a time in the US where people also had this nonchalance about voting. And people would have to put up events like parties, throw parties, cook, distribute drinks, just create some merriment to encourage people, to incentivize people to vote. By today, it's over 200 years down the line, that's not the same America you have. Today, you have celebrities even going to knock on people's doors, telling them on election day, I'll come drive you to your polling booth so you can cast your election and bring it back home and things like that. So this is not about whether you like the Democrats or you prefer the Republicans. It's now about for the nation, as they say in the US, country first. But we must have to imbibe that same culture here going forward. Otherwise, it will be like we're running a cycle.
Well, I was just thinking of the possibility of imbibing that culture here. And one thing that came to my mind is, when are we going to erode this ideology of my votes don't count? You know, these things resort to non-collection of PVCs too. INEC have been crying, have been lamenting. We've heard of this problem. They should also let us know what strategy they are putting in place, to forestall this situation, to make sure it doesn't happen. Because this cry has been since last year, and it's still continuing. Imagine 360,000 PVCs. While we're looking for money.
Right.
And, money is involved here because the production of these PVCs is a lot. And INEC keep crying about these things. I think we need to also know what INEC is doing for these things not to continue happening. Because crying out all the time that people are not picking their PVCs, what's the reason? Why are they not picking it? Okay, is it because they believe, well, my vote wouldn't count, which is an ideology that has been sold to some Nigerians, or maybe because of previous experience, they feel their votes don't count, and if my votes don't count, why go pick up the PVC? What am I going to use it for? And all of that. This is our mentality. Like you said, we need more of orientation. Our voters' education, very important, so that we will not be having these situations. If not, 2027 is going to be another drama altogether. More headlines from the Nigerian News Direct. Fuel importers drop price as competition tighten in downstream sector. Then finally from the Nigerian News Direct, Tinubu's reform saved Nigeria from brink of collapse. Oyedele is the one saying that, and as a matter of fact, as it is right now, so many things are happening. That's going to be the size of the headlines from the Nigerian News Direct. Reforms save Nigeria from brink of collapse. I don't know. That's true. But then here we are in Nigeria.
Of course. All right. Thank you, Ramsey. Let's take our last paper now before we put our first conversation this morning on the road. New National Star is our next port of call. Just immediately beneath the nameplate, top right, with a picture of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. It says, why Rivers local government poll will lack credibility, violate law. That's credited to INEC. Federal government mulls cattle breeding centers in 6 geopolitical zones. Are we still talking grazing, or is there a bit of a curve to that proposition? Well, read up details on page 3 of the New National Star today. 135 road projects completed across northern Nigeria. That's credited to the federal government. Bringing us to the Star headline that tells us nurses strike grounds hospitals nationwide. 2 riders. The first one says patients on admission discharged, others turned back at gates. Embarrassing and humiliating. Federal government, National Association of Nurses and Midwives meeting deadlocked to meet again Friday, which is tomorrow. All right, the Star headline says 2027, 6 political parties win Obi. That's according to Obedient Movement. Word on the street says, well, there is also PDP vehemently making efforts to ensure the man's return back to its fold. CBN denies targeting North in 2024 early exit package. NAFDAC recovers 2.5 billion naira in fines from Lagos Onitsha Aba raids. 28 states prone to flooding this year, says NIHSA. Benue IDPs protest persistent hunger despite Remi Tinubu's $1 billion gift. So what are we protesting over? Is it more money? Is it more aid of any other kind, resources, or there are systems and structures that need to be built, or are we asking for some form of precise and specific initiatives and methods to end all of these? Well, read all those details on page 7 of the New National Star newspaper today. Well, that's what we'll leave it with, the papers. Everyone, remember that Global Television does not contribute to these articles, neither do we have editorial input or make editorial inputs into these headlines as well. All we do is guide you through the news here so you also can avoid fake news and misinformation. We'll take a quick break now. When we return, we'll look at policy frameworks around national development projects in Nigeria, the implications, where we are and where we are heading.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
So many thanks for staying with us on Global Morning. It's now time for us to look at the first conversation for the day. What are we talking about? They want to look at national development, which is pivotal, which is more like something that is a necessity as far as every society is concerned. What a lot of society look at is growth and development. What do we have? How do we come about growth and development in countries, in nations, in the society? All these are built on the policies that come from people in governance, which trickles down to the average Nigerians, as the case may be, or we can say people who are the electorate. Joining me on the conversation today is a political analyst, and of course he's also a security expert. But then we're going to be talking to him from the political and policy aspect, where he have a very strong hold in the person of Professor Ibrahim Abubakar. It's good to have you join us on Global Morning today once again.
Good morning, everybody.
Now, we're looking at policies. What's the role of policy as it has to do with national development?
Policies are the fundamentals of rules, guidance, laws that propel development in every nation and society. So without the policy formations, then development will be very archaic to any society, community, or country. If we look at it, the policy framework guide the economy, guide the society, guide the structures, guide all phases of your development. So without policy, there is no development framework.
All right. Now, one of the things that shapen, all right, the developments in Nigeria is policy. What do you think of policies that have been put in place by different administrations in Nigeria. Because we are where we are today as a country as a result of policies, making an assessment of national development, societal growth, everything, the economy, all this boils down on policies, right on the wings of policies. So what's your assessment of policies in Nigeria, beginning from maybe Jonathan's administration up to date, because that's what we have been building until now?
Developmental policies are not being implemented, and they are also not in place. If you look at it, you find out that the engineering laws are not in our constitutions or laws, and even when they are there, they are very archaic and not implemented. Then if you also look at technological laws, there are scientific laws, security laws, so many laws, structures and infrastructural laws are not in place. These policies are not in place. So what kind of development are you looking at? Because even the power sector, which is supposed to be the energy law and the energy laws, if you watch very well, how many energy policies do we have? And we are implementing them. So you have a lot of rules to play. All what we have here is just the criminal laws and implementation. So if you look at it, the economic law is not even there. So how do you think you are going to run a nation without these rules? And what propelled the nation to development when these policies are not in place? And if we have some of them, they are just not known or implemented policies. So you are waving each time because you don't know where to have a hold on.
All right. Now, let's look at this present administration. When this administration came into office, there were policies that were made. And that policy brought us to where we are today. Take, for instance, subsidy removal, the floating of the Naira, and a number of other policies that came with this administration. Now, looking at what is happening right now, what do you have to say about the policies that this administration came up with? Apart from the agenda, every administration have an agenda. And these agendas are meant to swim, okay, on these policies. So can we take a look at the policies of this administration and where it's taking us? Is it for good or it's not doing us any good?
I think there is a mistake here when we want to talk of policies, because when you say an executive order is not a policy framework. So when you say, I use an executive order to say there is no subsidy on petroleum products or the downstream sector, then that is an executive order. It's not a policy. So let us not mix this together, because there's a difference between the National Assembly sat down, put it into law, and said there is no going to be subsidy in Nigeria, and this is their reason, and this is why, and this is what they are going to do with what the subsidy is bringing into Nigeria. The removal of subsidy is going to bring the gain and the profit, or what benefit whatsoever we are going to enjoy from it. But I don't think it is a constitutional issue, so you can't call it policy. It's an executive order. So when executive order is when another executive come in, it can be squashed away. So it's not a policy issue. It is an order. We have such and a lot of such orders that are being placed as executive order. Then let's look at the implementation of these order. The implementation of the order is because we cannot call anybody. Remember, we cannot call anybody. We cannot call anybody to say you have to review this order for this reason, because it is an executive order. So this order did not go through the first reading, second reading, or whatever public hearing in the National Assembly. So it is a tall order. So whatever way they implement it, we have no reason to question it till after Bola Ahmed Tinubu has finished his tenure.
All right. Let's look
at that. Goes also to the issue of currency swap and the rest. The increase in the rates of forest also goes the same way. They are all executive order. They are not policy framework that were debated in the floor of the National Assembly.
All right, let's do an assessment of development in Nigeria. What do you have to say about developments in Nigeria? Because what Nigerians are asking for some of these development sprees, and a lot of people are complaining that it's not there. What's your thought? What do you think about development in Nigeria? We know Nigeria is a third world country, and we are developing, but where are we?
The issue is, I beg to disagree that Nigeria is a third world country. We are all developing at our own pace. If you agree that you are a third world country, then you are a slave to the other nations, and that I am not a slave to anybody's nation. So the truth remains that you can't develop when there are no policies. Let me give you some instance. A road project, what we call the Truck A roads, are supposed to last for 50 years by rule, by engineering standard rule, looking at the highway and structural policies of roads. So if you have a Truck A road, then you should be expecting that that road is going to last for 50 years. I don't think there is any road that has lasted 50 years in Nigeria, because the policy is not there. So we recruit a contractor today who give us whatever shabby job he has given and walk away, because nobody is calling them back to say, you have done this job and it has not lasted from A to A, B, C, D. So when you also go to Truck B road and Truck C road, these are roads that are supposed to last a minimum of 25 years. We have not gotten any road of Truck B or Truck C that has lasted a minimum of 25 years. So that is the reason when we say we should go back, look at the policy frameworks, look at what is supposed to be. If you come to the structures like the offices, complexes, and the rest, we also have the hardware structures which are supposed to last 99 years. And we also have the softwares which are supposed to last like 50 years, 49, 50 years. So are these rules applicable? Are they really being applied? No. No. So if you look at your C of O, for example, if you have a certificate of occupancy, it's saying that you are enjoying the benefit of that certificate of occupancy for 99 years. Because the law states that any structure you put in that place is supposed to last for at least 99 years. But some of the structures don't even last 10 years, 15 years. They have started experiencing wear and tears because there is no porosity. So you buy a bulb, for example, this is bulbs here, and you fix it and it blow off today, you hold nobody responsible, but a bulb is supposed to last by policy, by law, for 1 good year.
One electric bulb.
Yes. So who did you hold responsible? Because the Standard Organization of Nigeria is not doing its job. So you find out that we have a lot of these policies. We lost a lot of policies that are supposed to be in place that are not in place. And those that are in place are not being implemented. Even by medical rule, you see somebody who has done a surgery, and there is eruption, and the person pay for that eruption again. No medical institution is being held responsible for such. So it's not just saying that there are no developmental templates. There are developmental templates, but these developmental templates that we have, do we really have policies? Do we really have those who are implementing? Do we really look at evaluation? Do we evaluate these policies and see where to go? What is the nation developmental plan for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years? Do we have any? So where are we going to? You go to our educational sector, it is also almost becoming something else. Let me use the word something else, even as I am not supposed to say something else. But why? Because much of the projections for our academic welfare, you'll find out that the policies are not in tandem with reality. So you see somebody going to study engineering, for example, and there is no lab, no workshop, no hub, whether industrial hub or whatever. So what are you really studying engineering, or you are just a graduate of engineering? So there is a lot of things we are supposed to do, because when the academic institutions or the educational institutions are not standing firmly to compete favorably with other nations, then that is why some people are thinking that they are from the third world countries. I don't believe I'm from the third world country. I am always first class, and I remain first class.
Yeah, every Nigerian is a first class in their own right. Let me take you back a little bit to the issue of subsidy removal. You said the subsidy removal is an executive order and not a policy. I want to draw your attention to what the special advisor to the president on policy communication said on a national TV, talking about Daniel Bwala, who commended the president, saying that the president has credited the presidency credited President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's subsidy removal policy. He called it policy here, but you said it's not a policy, that's an executive order, that it rescued more than 19 states from brink of bankruptcy. Now, you said it's an executive order and not a policy when I said it's a policy. And I'm going by what the special advisor to the president said here. He said it's a policy, and he called it a policy, like I said. Now, and he is crediting it to the fact that it released a lot of 19, he was specific, 19 states from brink of bankruptcy. But Nigerians were feeling the heat, and it's rescuing the state. So what are we saying here? Is there a strike of balance here? Because policies are supposed to be meant for Nigerians, and the state governors are enjoying it, according to Bwala, why the average Nigerians are complaining from one end to the other, even though I know human wants are insatiable. He has referred to it as a policy, talking about Bwala himself.
Bwala is a spokesman to Mr. President, and I believe he has his own targeted audience. But I'm being objective here because I'm not speaking for anybody. I'm not promoting anybody. Rather, I'm talking about my country as Nigeria. There is not a policy because nobody raised any bill for removal of subsidy, whether in the Senate or in the...
They just supported it because the Senate supported it.
No, it's an executive order. So whether you support it or not, he bring it as a speech in the inaugural speech of Mr. President. He did not bring it as a policy issue where he has to drive it to the National Assembly. So it was an executive order, and we have also followed the executive order. But to be frank with you, if they have done it and implement it the way it's supposed to be implemented, it would have been a very win game for Nigeria, removing the subsidy. But the implementation, just as I said, makes it not to have that human face it's supposed to have. So whosoever has advised Mr. President to remove the subsidy has actually done his homework. But implementing it and how to get out of it to have that human face that Nigerians are crying for, that is where the problem is. To me, removal of subsidy is one of the best things that this administration will have implemented.
Because almost all the presidential candidates were even talking about it
back
then.
No, but if you remove the subsidy, how does the effect on the populace? The effect of the populace, which we have absorbed, every Nigerian has absorbed, but what are the benefits and the gains is what Nigerians are not seeing. So anybody that brought that idea it was a golden idea, but the workings, the template of implementation, the templates are supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will have drawn down to everybody from the oils, from the down, upstream, middle stream to downstream sector, down to the federal government, the state government, the local government, and the populace. So everybody will have been a beneficiary of this removal. But in implementing it, the dot lines were not, I don't think, were adequately addressed. And the effect, the rebouncing effect, is what everybody is feeling.
All right. There are several policies that have been made in Nigeria. Can you tell us of the impact of some of those policies? Policies that, because every administration have different policies, but all the policies that we've been having in Nigeria, are we having a commensurate impact?
No, when implementation is faulty, there is no way anybody is going to have the impact, because the benefits are not drawn to the last chain. The problem we have here is we don't draw this to the last chain, and anything you don't draw to the last chain has a repulsing effect on you, who is a subject of that policy. You have an organization where you say this is an organization and this is what you are going to do within a time, and you are asking your people to say, okay, in this our organization, this is what you are going to go through, and this is the timeline. Most of these policies in Nigeria are not having timeline. That is the headache. Nobody plays timeline on them. This is going to last for 2 years, this is going to last for 5 years, this is going to last for 10 years, this is going to last for 20 years. We don't have timeline. So it is an established factor that it remains there. It is a policy, and it remains there. And when it remains there, it becomes a very big problem, because everybody wants to take an advantage of it.
But then some Nigerians are saying, especially looking at 2027, you know, like you talked about supervision and implementation just now, implementation of policy is key. Some persons are even saying that we're having more of politicking than even thinking of implementations of these policies and governance at the same time. Are you of the same school of thought?
Yeah, the issue is this. When you have policies that created an organization, the input of that organization, you also weigh the input and the output. You understand me? So most of the time when policies are formed and they make you head of that organization which implement this policy, it now becomes a sit-tight position. So there is no timeline. There is no duration that, oh, you are going to have a close-up at this time, this hour, this period. So that is where we have the problem.
All right. I think almost every Nigerian is thinking the same thing, but then we won't be able to continue with the conversation, even though it's so interesting. And as a matter of fact, let's go on a quick break. After this break, Global Morning continues. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break. It is still Global Morning right here, and we're looking at national development. And my guest is Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, a public affairs and political analyst and also a security expert. We're looking at the different policies in Nigeria. Now, there is something that always happens in Nigeria. Every administration comes with an agenda. This is what we want to do. Okay, like we're talking before now, we're talking about power. Every administration that comes will tell you, well, they are going to fix the power sector, which has been pivotal. And at the end of the day, we don't see these things done. You talked about implementation. Sometimes we have policies in place, but supervision and implementation is now a problem. What do you think is the way out of this? Because we'll still keep voting. We'll keep appointing people into political offices. But what can be done to ensure the implementation of these policies for Nigerians to feel the impact?
In the developmental template, we just I said, like Nigeria, we should go back again because we don't have political parties. We have political platform. We only realize it when we decide to have political parties.
What's the difference between political party and a political platform?
A political party is a party set up with agenda, ideas, and programming movement from one journey to the other, an association of like minds. But a political platform is, I'm coming in, I have some financial power and some financial muscles. I don't care whatever decision they are taking. My decision is paramount. I want to become a governor, I want to become a president, I want to become a senator, by all means. So I have my courage and everybody follow me. So their opinion, their idea does not matter to me. So in Nigeria, that is what we find, where we find ourselves. So we have a political platform, not a political party. So the day we realize it and say we want a political party, and we stage a political party that has all the grooms, that has groomed the people to withstand where they are supposed to be, that is when we should be ready to say there was some agendas, there was some campaign promises that has to be fulfilled, because the party will compel you to fulfill those promises. But in this case, it is play along with me. You either play along with me or you leave it at that position. So you don't blame them for somebody who fool you and continue to fool you. They know we need power. They know they can afford it on their own from their own private pocket. So why should I give them that power? It was a promise. So they use all this as a conduit pipe to exploit the ignorance of our people.
All right, Prof. Now, I think we need to take it up a little bit. So, like as at this morning, we have about, is it 600,000 PVCs not being picked up by electorate. Now, INEC is complaining. This complaint came from INEC. What do you think is responsible for this? Because number one, money was being spent. Number two, these people went to do the registration and the PVCs were provided. And it has not been picked, meaning these persons may not participate in the elections. And most times Nigerians complain, like we're talking about non-implementation of policies, so many things that need to be put in place. And what helps us to pick people who are credible, who are capable, all right, who are trusted to be able to drive this motto is through this election. And we're complaining of policy implementation, non-policy implementation, and every other thing. But these things keep happening. What do you think is the implication of all of this?
Well, if INEC should complain, then I feel they have no reason to come to the public and tell us and watch their dirty linings for us. Because one, the process went into biometrics. Every voter's card has an address. So the enforcement, the mobilization unit of of INEC are supposed to send these cards to the address of the owners. INEC has an office in the local government, they have an office in the states, they have offices, the national headquarters. So how can INEC come here and tell me that there are people who have not collected their voters card? And these people, they have, every indication shows that they have the voters card were addressed to their villages, to their addresses. So it's like National Identity Management Commission coming to tell me that you cannot get your national ID because, whereas there is an address inputted. So INEC should not come here and bamboozle us with such nonsense. They only want more money for, to me, they just want more money from the government. That is just what that is my...
But does it have an implication? Not picking this PVC, does it have an implication? Because we're talking about national development.
Yes, because it has an implication, because if I wanted to vote and I don't have my voter's card, I will not be allowed to vote. So what is the agenda of not submitting this voter's card to the people?
No, it's the people that didn't come to pick it. That has been the policy. That's how it's been done. Are you
expecting somebody to come from Lagos, for example, to come to the national headquarters and start asking for his voter's card?
No, there's a way it's been done. You registered somewhere, in a ward somewhere. So
when
you go back
said
and
come
pick
to
it.
register, and when you was registering, you also was what? You were in the center. Have they put a center where they were registering and said, your cards are ready, come and collect, and people refuse to come?
Yeah, the cards at the various local government and INEC offices.
So you want,
at the local government
somebody who registered in Use, for example, or central area, to now go to start looking for INEC office in the local government or in the state headquarters to pick his card. Why didn't you tell him that he should go to the local government headquarters or go to the state headquarters of INEC to register as a voter? Why was he taken to his home or closer to his house?
But if this
now that he has to collect, he has to be punished to collect.
I don't think it's a punishment, because you register. I know that when you register, all right, and these cards, these PVCs are being printed, if they are ready, there's a designated location where you are supposed to pick it. People who even do the registration are aware of that before they even go to register. So the question I'm asking now, not picking these, is not, I'm not talking about why INEC didn't take it to the various locations where the address indicates, because even tracing these addresses may not be easy. You know how locating address is in Nigeria. What implication would the non-picking of these cards have on policy makers?
That is the same thing we are saying. The implication is that whose responsibility is it to deliver these cards? Why were the people not captured and that card produced immediately to them? They did not do that. So now that the cards are accumulated, why didn't you deliver them to their address? Because people in the world knows them. Even if the addresses are not verifiable, the people in the world
know the people that came to register?
Yes, you can't go to my village now and said in my village people registered and they don't know the name of that person.
No, the people who are doing this registration, maybe they may not even be from your village. These are INEC staff deployed
So why
to do this registration.
we have councillors representing each ward in Nigeria. Did you have any discussion with these councillors? Did you have any discussions with the local government chairman? So there is a channel which you are supposed to follow to deliver these cards. Some of these people may be late. Some of them. And you are waiting for them to come and collect card. The question is that what we are all crying that what have benefited from a government, and you are not thinking that somebody who is today in Tugamaji will come to Gwagwalada, use his money to pay transport to Gwagwalada to collect card, to collect voters card. On what ground?
Because they left that place to go and do the registration, so they should
So
be able.
if you come,
we're talking about patriotism here.
If you come to Tugamaji to capture me, you expect me now to pay transport to go to Gwagwalada to pick the card.
Prof, that's what we call patriotism, because you went to register. That's why you need to register at a place very close to you, so that you can pick up the card.
I was patriotic enough. I was patriotic enough to come for capturing in Tugamaji. Then I should be patriotic enough again to pay transport to go and
go and pick it. It means you don't value the card. It means you don't value the PVC.
There is no,
because I could remember
there is no value when there is no,
2023.
There is no value when there is no political party. There is always a value when there is a political party.
How will you say there is no political party?
We have political platform.
But we have. Are you saying APC is a political platform?
Yes.
PDP is a political platform.
Of course, it's a political platform.
But they call it political party.
That is their.
Is that a misplacement?
That is a misplacement. It's a political platform. Whether you call
so you're trying to say we don't have a political party in Nigeria?
No. Whether you call it ADC, you call it PDP, you call it whatever name, SDP, or you call it APC, they are all political platform as far as I'm concerned. And I can defend that anywhere.
Political platforms?
Yes.
Are you saying they don't have ideology? Because political
What
parties...
ideology has driven us since 1999?
So are you saying, okay, what's your assessment of the political parties we have in Nigeria as it has to do with ideology?
I said we don't have a political party. We have political platform. You are telling me of ideology. What ideology would drive a platform?
So these political parties don't have an ideology? Or you don't want me to call it a political party?
No, there is no political party. If there is one, show me one.
Or Progressive Congress, APC,
No,
PDP.
It's not a political party. It's a political platform. Did you know the manifestation? Should we count from the beginning of 1999 to today? I think the names has transformed everywhere to shoot one person or one other candidate.
Okay, well, the conversation is actually getting intensive. Prof have said we don't have political parties in Nigeria, that what we have is political platform. And I was trying to ask if we have political parties that have ideology and what the ideologies are and where it has brought us today. And he said he has not seen anyone with any ideology, as a matter of fact. Well, this is going to be the size of the conversation. Many thanks for joining us, Prof, on the conversation today.
Thank you very much, and thank you, viewers.
All right, well, this is going to be the size of the first conversation on Global Morning today. Each of the ideas and, of course, of our guest is their idea, not that of Global Television, as a matter of fact, just the way it is with the national dailies that we took today. Coming up next is the second conversation, which will be brought to you by Uyi Agbomofuegbe. Stay with us as Global Morning continues. We will be back after this break.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national.
Thank you so very much, everyone, for staying with us here on the program. Time to look at our second discussion for you this morning. Things are moving real fast on the international scene, especially with regards to development on the ground in Gaza. Virtually every other day, Global Television, like other news outlets, continues to bring you those developing stories, as sad and as very touching and, if you like, thought-provoking as they are, just to give you a bit of insight into what the issues have been and the impact of this conflict that has been on for several months, so going to 2 years as a matter of fact. But let's fast forward to most recent developments, with one country after another now saying that if by September, when the UN General Assembly begins in New York, and the Israelis, that is the Israeli government, still has not made a move to enter into some sort of, if you like, definitive, all issues considered ceasefire with Hamas, it will have no other choice than to recognize the state of Palestine. Of course, you know this has been the issue for a while now, whether or not the should be to go and what Israel's position will be in this regard. But it will appear the time is now, because we have now seen one country after the two most recent being the United States, for example, and now Canada has been toeing the same path the last 24 to 48 hours. That's in addition to France, for example, that I also said that it will have no other option than to toe that path of the Palestinian state's recognition. Once that happens, this whole narrative will change drastically. But let's join someone now, or let's bring on someone who is going to help us find some insights and perspectives in this regard. Dr. Babayo Sule is Senior Lecturer at National University of Lesotho in South Africa. He joins us this morning from that part of the continent via Zoom to provide very valuable thoughts on this development. First of all, Dr. Sule, I'd like to say thank you to you for making out time in spite of your busy schedule to join us in this conversation. All right, so let's believe that you can hear me. Let's begin by first of all asking what really has changed, because quite a number of times the last 1 year plus, you and I have talked about the development on the ground in Gaza, but it will appear the West, one country after the other, is beginning to sing a different song. Talk to us about what really we're dealing with at this point in time. Okay, we're understanding that we're not getting audio from our guest. Let's take a quick break to quickly fix that. Once it is rectified, we'll be back to put this conversation on the road properly for you. Do stay with us. All right, we're still working on trying to reconnect audio stream with our guest this morning, Dr. Obabayo Sule. In the meantime, Ogochukwu Mobuno is standing by with Social Buzz.
The Global Morning crew, and good morning to you, our esteemed viewers. I am Ogochukwu Mobuno. Today we'll be looking at what's buzzing on the internet. We will not tolerate anti-ADC, says David Mark. The chairman of the new coalition party, ADC, former Senate President David Mark, has addressed the new party and the public in his speech. He mentioned that the party guarantees collective leadership at all levels and will build competent democracy at all levels, and everyone will have equal rights in the party. He further said that in the ADC will not tolerate anti-party. It is either you are with us or not. What an audacity. Well, let's take a look at this video.
From anti-party and any form of indiscipline.
The general has spoken.
You are either an ADC or you are not an ADC. There is no midway in this business. And those who are not with us, we will not carry them along. We shall revise our grassroots leadership structures to reflect modern realities. From the polling units upwards, up to the national level, every organ will be re-energized. We will open the gates for the next generation. Our policies, nominations, and leadership roles will reflect.
Wow, that's David Mark, and he was stating the obvious, according to him, that he's not going to tolerate any anti-ADC into the party. It's either you are with them or you are not for them. So it's more like, take your time, think about it. Do you want to come to ADC or you want to leave the party? But there's no I am here or and I'm still there. It is, you have to be in one place. You are neither hot nor cold. He said David Mark is going to spit you away from the ADC. Well, let's take some few comments concerning this discussion, concerning this speech made by the former Senate President. And the first comment is coming from Defender of Just. And Defender of Just says, Sir David Mark, how credible are you? Atiku handpicked you to be the interim chairman. So whose bidding are you doing? This is a big question. This is where we now say we leave that question to our opponent because we have no answers to this question. So it is clear, whose bidding are you doing? Who are you with? Are you with the people, or you are just simply working for somebody and just taking all his, everything he's telling you and going with it? Let us know. The second comment is coming from Ifoluwa Bumi, and Ifoluwa Bumi says, we know the meaning of this message. Peter Obi should be smart and lead this coalition now, except he has plans to be vice president to Atiku, who is obviously going to be the presidential candidate here. Like it or not, it is either Atiku for these guys or no one else. They have a clear plan, and I don't see Peter Obi getting anything here. This is very obvious. This is a topical discussion, and I'm telling you honestly that at this point it is like a battle between the LP, ADC, and APC. What can we say at this point? We say let the best man win. Do you support it? Do you think that they are stating the obvious? Do you think that this is right? Well, we'll see. The third comment for the day is from Korede Lagos. And Korede says, I am happy about this ADC. We really need a serious party to challenge the arrogancy of APC. Let them provide a reasonable and based platform for reasonable Nigerians to consider. Yes, they all came from APC, PDP, LP, ABCA, CPC, etc. But it is still possible to reevaluate the past and give Nigerians a solid party to challenge the mediocrity that APC is forcing down our truth. At this point, I would say these people that are in this ADC, like the new coalition party, these are people that we judge in one way or the other when they were still in power, either as vice president or as governor or as senate president, or in various fields where they've all worked. They all actually, in one way or the other, they all criticized their government and never liked it. As a matter of fact, we know El-Rufai, sometimes people were actually against his leadership in Kaduna State and felt like he didn't do well at all. And right now he's going to the ADC. So are you saying that this new coalition party, the ADC, is going to bring change? Do you think they're strong enough to fight against the APC, who is already leading several parts of the country? I think they have over, up to 30 states, if I'm not mistaken, right now. There are APC governors everywhere. Do you think the ADC has the power to win the APC and also Labour Party to come 2027? This is a strong battle, and only the strong can actually win. I want you to drop your thoughts there. We'll be picking your thoughts there on social media using all the handles you're seeing right now on the screen, and be part of this conversation. I'm going to be leaving you here to the Global Morning crew as the Global Morning continues. Please stay with us. I am Ogachukwu Mobinor.
All right, we have been able to reconnect with our guest. Now, first of all, thank you, Ogachukwu Mobinor, for bringing us up to speed with regards to happenings within the political space, especially as it has to do with this coalition now of many politicians from various backgrounds and diverse ideological bases coming together. Okay, we continue to monitor what happens between now and 2027. In the meantime, let's turn our attention to the international scene, where a lot has changed recently regarding the situation in Gaza. Just yesterday, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer now says that if by September, when the UN General Assembly holds in New York, United States, Israel has not reached some sort of truce or ceasefire, as we often refer to it, with Hamas, it means it is left with no option other than to recognize formally a Palestinian state. But again, we have seen other countries that are lending their voices to that same call and towing that exact same path. What does all of this mean for peace in the Middle East, and in particular this development we now have on the ground in the Gaza Strip? We're joined now by Dr. Babayo Sule, is a lecturer in Lesotho, South Africa, to help us find some sense and perspectives in this regard. Again, Dr. Sule, would love to appreciate you for your patience with us this morning. First of all, because of time, help us understand what exactly is happening at this point, because before now, it was as if the entire Western world, I mean the global West as we know it, had sided with Israel. But we are beginning to see a 180-degree, if you like, turnaround now. What exactly is it that is happening?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning, dear listeners out there. Well, first of all, I want to begin by saying that, based on my own perception, I believe it is just a double standard. They don't mean what they are just saying now, because there are many reasons not to believe in what they are saying or the threat that they are now issue has created and continue to consolidate. We believe that it is part of the foreign policy of the US and the Western world to continue to depend and support Israel at all costs. It was these same countries of the UK, US, Canada, and other countries that are now threatening to declare the independence or rather the status of Palestine that have created in the first place the Israeli state within Palestine, and it was with their support, the financially, with the weapons, with moral, with social, with cultural and form of support, both in the United Nations, in the NATO, and everywhere else, that Israel continued to perpetuate massacre and terror against the Palestine. And if they are serious, to my own belief, they should have prevent the current genocide that was ongoing in Gaza for a long period of a time. But they could not do that. It was only after Gaza was completely demolished, and after the people of Gaza were nearly obliterated and wiped out from the Gaza Strip, that they are now talking. And don't forget that these same countries of the UK, of France, and other were part of the kind of tyrannical agreement that always favored the Israel against the Palestine. Then why are they just suddenly making a U-turn? To me, it is just a political or rather a diplomatic approach based on their own benefit against the US, because they have now believed that the US, led by Donald Trump, is now fully in support of Israel in whatever it is doing in Gaza, and based on the trade war embarked by Donald Trump against them, they are now using this as a means of retaliation in order to strike a deal or a negotiation. But I don't believe that they genuinely mean what they are saying, and I don't even believe it will occur. These countries will never declare the nationality or the state status of Palestine. They believe that before the next UN General Assembly meeting that all things will be resolved, so they are just issuing empty threats so that the world will not say that these people are wicked, or rather that they have been sleeping while the Palestinians have been massacred, that there is injustice, there is double standard, and that there is tyranny. They are doing it to save their lives, such a traveling and punishing by the global community.
Okay, Doctor, you have said very clearly that on the strength of the foreign policies of countries like France, Germany, talk about the United Kingdom and Canada, for example, it is near impossible for them to throw their weight behind recognizing the state of Palestine. Let me ask you this very specifically. What do these countries have to lose if they mean what they're saying, and if they put their foot down going into the next United Nations General Assembly? I want to believe you heard me, Dr. Sule. Okay, well, that appears to be some audio loss occurring right there. Network has not been friendly for the most parts of this conversation. But then I was just trying to find some perspectives as to what exactly would these countries lose. I mean, should they back these announcements with some measure of sincerity or purpose going into the next meeting, the next United Nations General Assembly, which is just a matter of weeks away from now, happening in September. Because whether you like it or not, yes, these countries have their respective foreign policy, structure, and thrusts. But then, if you look at the situation on the ground in Gaza, given the numbers of people who are said to be killed every day on account of hunger, malnutrition, arising from the inability of, aids to come into the Strip, what do they stand to gain? One would have thought that they're standing with humanity, they're standing with common sense, they're standing with a noble cause, that sort of thing. But he was also making the point that, in any case, this is coming late because they had all the opportunity, golden opportunity perhaps, to have even forestalled or prevented this situation from degenerating to where it is today. But as they say, better late than never. So if in the next few weeks going into the next round of meetings at the UNGA, these countries will back their words with action and decide to go the whole hog and throw their weight behind the declaration or the recognition of the state of Palestine, would that not move the conversation from one point to another for the better, for not just between Israel and Palestine, but maybe for the whole region and by extension, the entire world? Hopefully we're able to fix this audio issue with our guest this morning. But we'll take a break now. The rest of the program continues shortly. Stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Well, that's a very wonderful conversation right there. What we do on Global Morning is to make sure you get perspective of different stories and events as they unfold. Well, that's that. And this morning we've been able to establish the fact that apart from national stories, we also bring you very close to things happening at the international scene. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed to see how all of these things will become a thing of the past at last, and everyone will smile at the end of the day. Well, this is the size of Global Morning, and as a matter of fact, my colleague is right here. Well,
we'd like to say a big thank you as usual to our viewers who have made our time to invest part of it with us this morning. Again, a reminder that all of the views of our guests on all of our programs, including Global Morning, their opinions. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe saying we do not take your time with us for granted.